This part of the Forum is a pretty place to walk, particularly this morning, because of the rain and the fact that it's middle of December. There are only about 4 or 5 people that I've seen in the Forum this morning, and it's probably 9:30, almost 10 o'clock. Again, one of the benefits of being here this time of year in spite of the rain. I don't know what this pretty building is, but it has 2 very pretty columns that were probably very beautiful because they look, when they're original, because they look like they have varying colors in them. And then there are the porphyry or purple columns, which, if that's what they are, were very difficult to make. The technology lost, in fact, sometime shortly after Constantine. It's interesting how the glory of Rome remains in little odds and ends, just kind of randomly stacked by archaeologists who continue to dig down inside to find out what's here. Here are 2, looks like pedestals, probably for posts, unless they were wells. But there are 3 of them here, so I'm guessing that they were more like pedestals of some sort. Notice that we're at some kind of an intersection, and this area in front of us, directly behind this fence apparently, is the Forum Square. And the original one was this area about the size of a football field. And surrounding it were temples, law courts, government buildings in triumphal arches. This is where Rome was born. I'll read Rick Steves as I pass through here. Imagine the buildings towering and the people buzzing around you while an orator gives a rabble-rousing speech from the rostrum. Imagine in its prime blinding white marble buildings with 40-foot-high columns and shining bronze roofs, rows of statues painted in realistic colors, processional chariots rattling down the Via Sacra. I can remember standing here somewhere 40 years ago, almost exactly to the year, imagining Caesar coming down this Appian Road. And it gave me a clear sense all through my life of the historical charisma of place. This building is the Temple of Julius Caesar, Tempio del Divo Julio, or Ara di Caesar. Julius Caesar's body was burned on this spot under the metal roof after his assassination. Here in this small apse area, APSE, of this building is a mound of dirt with fresh flowers. They're placed here to remember the man who, of course, more than any other Roman, epitomized Rome. A couple of reflections. Someday, scientists of the brain may be able to tell us what the term charisma is in the brain. It seems unique and novel to me. Reflection is when you try to think of the pivotal names in history. Julius Caesar would be one, Jesus Christ another. Putting aside the contrived mythology of religion, what other human beings could rank in that top 5, if you will? It was here that a funeral was held for Julius Caesar, for the masses of people that showed up. Mark Antony spoke somewhere where we're standing. And apparently in a spirit of all who knows what, adopted fatherly love, Augustus declared this a temple, and thereby making Julius Caesar the first god, if you will, of Rome, human god of Rome. Now we're going back to the pretty building that I looked at earlier. I think it's somehow poignant, if that's the right word, that I'm going to walk back in amongst this ancient debris to get a good picture of this next building. What one wouldn't give, what history wouldn't, what today's historians wouldn't give, to listen to these rocks tell the tales they've seen. To wax elegant now, like discarded messengers, they lie mute. Okay, this really powerful and amazingly original building is the Temple of Antonius Pius and Faustina. And the Senate built this to honor Emperor Antonius Pius in AD 138 to 161 and his deified wife Faustina. These are 50-foot tall columns, Corinthian, by their leafy top portions. There used to be a tympanium up there, a triangular feature that had all kinds of statue sculptures in there. Now try and picture this with the statues all colored, the tops of those columns glistening in gilded gold, and everything else in its beautiful original form. Certainly to the common people who visited Rome, it was an awe-inspiring vision. And then entering in through the doors, you encountered the statue of the goddess. Sadly, but typically, during medieval times, they attempted to scavenge the gold from on top, and to scavenge perhaps even the pillar tops. And that's what those horizontal lines are, were attempts to cut through the pillars and break them down to ground level. Now, what's equally interesting is that these cuts were made with rope and vinegar. Vinegar apparently will cut through a marble, because marble is, I forget what we call it, but I remember in class, I think in history, now in science class, you used to put vinegar or some kind of acid on marble and watch it fizz. Now in the 1550s, this was converted into a church, and Michelangelo played a role in that. But the doors, and I guess they're referring to those lower doors, represent the street level. It's a little confusing to me. I'm guessing what they're trying to say is that this area from here on up to there had all been filled in over time. It's kind of fun just sitting here in the rain in the forum with maybe 20 people spread out throughout the entire forum. Reminds me of the couple of hours I spent at Teotihuacan when I was the only person there. I just noticed as I was sitting here this fragment of wall with fragments of marble attached to it, thinking how to an archaeologist that's very important, and that it will show how stones were attached to the walls and how they were attached to each other.